Whether you have a 6-year-old who struggles at putting on his clothes, or a high school student who's skipping school, or students who with severe emotional and behavioral disabilities, changing behavior is hard. And it takes real work to be able to help support that change. One evidence-based method for addressing difficult and disruptive behaviors, whether at school or home, is through reinforcing behaviors that we want to see and punishing behaviors that we don't want to see. This general learning style is what is referred to as operant conditioning. This is opposed to classical conditioning, where the person, or in the case of Pavlov and his dogs, the animal, is where the behavior is autonomic and it doesn't require purposefully changing the behavior or kind of interaction from the subject. Today, we want to talk about what does it look like to address behavior through these rewards and punishments, with examples of how this can be implemented in a classroom and in a home environment. My name's Jacob, and I'm really glad that you're here. Thanks. These ideas of being able to reinforce behaviors that we want to see and punishing behaviors that we don't want to see is really important. And to kind of give us a framework and to start the conversation, I want to kind of bring up two important concepts. One thing that we need to know is that research and evidence show that the more we can reinforce behaviors, that those behaviors are much more likely to change and to have sustained change, that the change continues beyond the reinforcement that happens. And so as much as possible, not that we don't want to punish the negative behaviors, but that when we reinforce the behaviors that we do want to see, that is where real change happens. And kind of the second thing that we want to look at and recognize, and it's really more of a concept or how we kind of think about things, but that we are talking about reinforcing and punishing not the person, but the actual behavior, the thing that is happening. And it doesn't have anything to do with that person's self-worth or who they are or kind of their character, but that it has to do with reinforcing and punishing the behaviors that are actually happening. And so there are these two kind of broad categories that we deal with. And so on the one hand, you have reinforcement. And reinforcement is where we are saying this is the behavior that we want to see, and we're going to either give you things that you like because you did the thing that we want you to do. That's positive reinforcement. Or we're going to take away something that you don't like because you did this positive behavior. And the concept, on the other hand, of punishment, where either we're going to give you something that you don't like, that you have to do because of this negative behavior that you did, or we're going to take away something that you do like because of a negative behavior that we don't want you to do. And so that's the basics of what operant conditioning is and how we come and address behaviors. And to give like a very kind of silly example, or a very kind of oversimplified example, would be to think about somebody who really likes cookies and somebody who maybe doesn't like broccoli. And I don't get it if you don't like broccoli. I like broccoli, especially you put a little bit of cheese on it, super delicious. But you need to come and to kind of think about, and so when we come and give positive reinforcement, that means that we're saying, hey, you did the behavior that I wanted you to do. Here's a cookie, have it. Or, hey, if we're gonna do negative reinforcement, you did the behavior we wanted you to do. You don't have to eat your broccoli today. Great job. And that's both positive and negative reinforcement. When we take that into the context of punishment, then we might say, hey, you did a behavior that I don't want you to do, and you need to do a different behavior. And so because of that, I'm going to say that you need to eat broccoli now. That would be positive punishment. Where coming and saying, man, you did this behavior that you shouldn't do, you need to do a different behavior, and we say, you can't have any more cookies, sorry, then that would be negative punishment. And so that's the basics of how we think about changing behavior and kind of of what operant conditioning is. So when we talk about positive reinforcement, this might look like giving positive comments, being able to give praise, to say, hey, great job, I really like how you put on your shoes without me having to ask. That's awesome. And that encourages the behavior that you want to see that child do. That it might be having some sort of a token economy. In a lot of school classrooms, teachers give stickers, or they have tickets, or they have fake money or something that they give that, hey, I saw you doing something that I wanted you to do. I'm going to come and to give, oftentimes this is random reinforcement that we might not reinforce every time, especially as the behavior increases and they're doing it more, that we might do it less. But that is positive reinforcement, that we're giving them something at home. That might be being able to earn an allowance, or maybe it's being able to go on a special family outing because of completing a goal or some sort of a task that you've been working on and trying to do. When we talk about negative reinforcement, this is the subtraction of something that the person doesn't like. And so some school-based examples might be, hey, the math is really hard and this is the subject that is really difficult. You do this other thing that's hard that you've been needing to do, and we're excited, and so we want to give you some reinforcement for having completed that behavior. And so we might say, hey, here's a ticket that you can get out of your next math assignment if you want. Now, are they going to be able to get out of all of their math assignments? No, but they can get out of that one math assignment and to be able to come and to use that. Or not having to do a chore at home, that, hey, you know what, you don't have to do the dishes tonight because I was just so impressed at how you came and told me about what you did when you didn't go to school and what you're going to do to come in to change that. Thank you so much. That's negative reinforcement. We're taking away the thing that they don't like to do because of a positive behavior. On kind of the other hand, and the other end of the spectrum is this idea of positive and negative punishment. So some examples of positive punishment might be that, hey, you hurt this person, you made them feel bad, you have to go and apologize to them, or you need to write an apology letter. It might be having to do some sort of special cleaning detail. Something that happens fairly frequently in the classrooms that I work with, and kind of the EBD classrooms that I'm involved with, is that sometimes students get upset and frustrated and they rip up their papers, or they knock over desks, or tip over chairs, or they kind of destroy the classroom, or they'll rip posters off the wall, or sometimes it's fairly extreme. But before they can come back, before they can come and do the stuff that they can rejoin the group, they need to clean those things up. That I'm not going to go and clean it up for them. That they need to come and to take some responsibility for that. It might have to go take a break. Might be a positive punishment that they have to do. At home, this might be having to do an extra chore, or might have to be participating in an activity that the person doesn't want to participate in. When we think about negative punishment, kind of the subtraction of something that the person doesn't want to do, it might be at home. Kind of the most common way that I think we kind of think about punishment is the idea of grounding, or saying you can't use your Xbox anymore, or use your electronic devices, or whatever that is, and taking those things away, those kind of positive things that they like to do because of a negative behavior. At school, this might be for a elementary age student who acts out at recess and does something that is kind of causing them problems, is saying, hey, sorry, you can't go and be anywhere during recess, that you can only go to this one toy, that there's this one place that you can go, and that's it, until you're able to earn your way out of this, and this is what you need to do to earn your way out of it. That it might not be that, in our classrooms as well, we follow a pre-MAC principle where students are expected to come and to do work, and then after that work is done, then they can have some earned time and to be able to relax and to do something enjoyable. And we have this kind of schedule where they do work, get some earned time, do work, get some earned time. But losing out on that earned time is a negative punishment. It is taking away something that they want to do that's enjoyable, and it's really profitable for creating change and for kind of motivating change, that, hey, I want to get earned time next time. I'm going to do all the work that I'm supposed to. And so with that, I want to leave you with kind of one last thing to think about, is this idea of having natural consequences. And when I talk about consequences, I am talking about both the consequences of that we want to reinforce the positive things that they get, and the things that for the positive behaviors, and the punishments for negative behaviors. And natural consequences are anything that is kind of naturally occurring. So for example, that taking away earned time is a natural consequence, that you didn't do the work, so you didn't earn kind of your earned time, and you get to see everybody else doing earned time. And really, doesn't that suck? But it'll get better. Next time do your work and you'll get earned time. Kind of a great example of this, and kind of a way to conceptualize this and think about this, is one, we need to teach our students or our children how to come and to do the skill or the behavior that we want them to do. If you have a child and you want them to take their coat with them, right now it's like 32 degrees outside. It's pretty cold here in Pasco. And you don't want your child to go outside and to not have their coat. And so maybe we need to have them practice taking their coat and putting it on, and remembering where to put, maybe it's having them put it in a specific spot, having some sort of a tool that they can use, or maybe they have a checklist that they can come and say, I'm leaving for the house, this is all the things that I need to do, and they check off each of the things on their checklist. That those are all kind of things that we want them to do, that we need to teach and model and train them how to do the behavior, the behavior, the replacement behavior. And that's not what this video is about, although that is an important aspect of changing behavior, is kind of giving the new behavior the thing that you want them to do. But sometimes those natural consequences, and sometimes the best way that person's going to come and learn, is that, hey, they didn't use their tool, or I reminded you and I said, hey, don't forget to put on your coat, we're going to go in a couple of minutes. And then you leave and they don't take their coat with them, and you know what, they're going to come to you in a little bit and say, I'm so cold, I can't take it. And that is where we get the opportunity to say, I am so sorry, I wish that you had your coat, and I feel really bad that you're so cold. But remember, I reminded you, or remember the skill that we taught you, or remember the practices that we did, or whatever it is, that we've done to change that behavior. That sometimes the hard lesson of being outside and being cold is the thing that causes them to come and to change. So with that, I want to leave you, I would love to hear what you guys think. Are there things that are natural consequences that you've either used with your children or with students that you work with? So go ahead, put that in the comment section. And, if you haven't already, I'd love for you to subscribe, to like this video.